Should be joined on the line now by Gilbert Gottfried. Hello, how are you?
Yeah, hi.
Good. Now you're going to be in town at Yuck Yucks tonight through Sunday. So welcome to Ottawa and welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you.
Now, have you played in Ottawa before?
Yeah, I played here a couple of times. I don't remember. I just remember the first time playing here. It was a cold spell, even by Ottawa standards. And then it was like just mountains of snow and freezing cold.
So like today.
Yes.
So we're going to blame you then, because this has been the coldest winter, I think, in history here. So I apologize for that. Now, you actually have a few Ottawa connections. You do the voices for Cyber Chase, which is a kids show that's animated by an Ottawa company called Pip. And I'm wondering how that came to be.
Oh, yeah. It's funny because for a while I was asking anyone when I was in Canada about it, and they weren't aware of the show. But it's an educational cartoon, Cyber Chase, and they used to, when I'd record it, every time I recorded it, they would fly me to Toronto.
Really?
And I'd work there for a day and then go back home the next morning.
So instead of just sending, do you live in, where do you live? Do you live in New York or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, in Manhattan.
So they didn't just have you go to a studio there then?
Yeah, I can't understand why. But yeah, I used to fly to Toronto all the time to do it. And it's like an educational cartoon, and if these parents only realized how stupid and uneducated I am.
Now, you're friends with Norm Macdonald, who is an Ottawa boy. Did he give you any advice on the city or playing to an Ottawa crowd?
Well, who listens to Norm?
Fair point.
That's the thing there. Any advice he gives me, I usually am not paying attention, and he just rambles on going, you go in the city, in Iowa.
That's actually a pretty spot-on impersonation. So, keeping with the Canadian theme, you were on a TV show called Celebrity Wife Swap, and you swapped with Alan Thicke. So I'm curious as to how different it was being married to a Canadian's wife.
Oh, yeah. Well, I got to have sex with Alan Thicke for the week. And he just lied there and go, this is good, Gilbert. Oh, this is so exciting. But that was a very peculiar one. We swapped wives, and with Alan Thicke of all people. I'd worked with Alan Thicke years ago when he had his big hit TV show, Thick of the Night. He had moved out to L.A. and started this show, Thick of the Night. That was his big talk show.
Right. That
was supposed to knock Johnny Carson and The Tonight Show off the air.
Of course.
And I guess he succeeded, because right now you don't hear anything about Johnny Carson.
That's true. In fairness, though, you don't hear anything about Alan Thicke either. So. Now, when you're in town for a few days like you are here, what do you like to do in your downtime? Do you stick to the hotel, or do you like to explore the city?
I'm terrible at looking around. People always say, "Oh, you're traveling all the time." To me, traveling means I fly into the airport, check into the hotel, and watch a lot of horrible television until it's time to go to the club.
I guess if it's cold out, that removes some of the incentive to go and explore. So.
Oh, yeah.
It is a beautiful city, though. So, once the TV gets too bad, get the parka and go and explore. So tell us about Gilbert Gottfried's Amazing Colossal podcast and why you do it.
I started it as a podcast. It's on gilbertgottfried.com. And I like to explore mainly, I like to talk about old Hollywood. I had on this producer director, Roger Corman, who invented Little Shop of Horrors and all those, the original ones. And he would churn out these movies for for nothing, and he'd do them in like a day. And he was one of those, he discovered these people like Scorsese and Francis Ford Coppola, who all were working for him for nothing. And I was talking to him, and he told a story that when one day he was planning on meeting his friends and playing tennis, but it was rainy that day, so he decided to make a movie. And he went to the studio where they had left over, they built a castle for one of their A pictures, and he decided, let's just start filming here. And Boris Karloff owed him one day's work on a previous movie, so he got Boris Karloff and an unknown actor named Jack Nicholson, and he made a movie called The Terror that he says to this day nobody has any idea what the plot of it is.
That's quite the cast, though, to get on short notice and just like that.
Oh yeah. He was one of those guys, like just a total wheeler dealer, and I heard one other story about him. He made a movie called The Beast with a Million Eyes, and they made the entire movie, and then someone said to him, "There's no beast with a million eyes in it." And so he took a tea kettle and punched a bunch of holes in it and put a light bulb inside it, and that became The Beast with a Million Eyes.
And he went on to form Star Wars Light and Magic. And
yeah. And I've also had on Henry Winkler, Bob Saget, Weird Al Yankovic, Danny Aiello.
It's a lot of funny people, too. A lot of funny people there. Are you drawn to having funny people as guests, or on the podcast do you like to maybe explore some people who may be a little more serious and then try
both.
And take the poop out of them?
Yeah, I like to have both on, because and it's also hard it's hard finding people from old Hollywood, of course. And I was originally going to call the show the Before It's Too Late Show. And but then I thought it would be hard getting guests, because you'd be calling them up going, hey, can you come on and do my podcast, because I think you might be dead in a week.
That's a fair point. Now, did you mention people can get the podcast from your website?
Oh, on gilbertgottfried.com. You could also get my book and DVD. My book's Rubber Balls and Liquor, and my DVD is called Dirty Jokes, which is exactly what it means. And my Twitter account is Real Gilbert.
There you go. Now, I read somewhere, or maybe I heard somewhere, I don't remember, but you had a bit of an interesting experience getting the rights to your website, gilbertgottfried.com. Somebody else had it, did they not?
Yes. I was new to this whole thing, and so I figured, I'll call it, of course, gilbertgottfried.com. I thought, not too imaginative, but okay. And I found out some guy in Thailand owned it. And this guy so I had to buy my name from a guy in Thailand, and it was a double insult. Number one, having to buy my own name, and two, how cheaply I got it.
Can I ask how cheap it was?
Yeah, I'd rather not. It's just It was insulting.
There you go. Well, you own it now, so it's all good.
Yeah.
So what gave you greater satisfaction, singing on stage with Bon Jovi or doing readings from 50 Shades of Grey, and why?
Yeah, on that Night of Too Many Stars that Robert Schmeigel does, it was me, Al Roker, Will Forte, and Triumph the Dog singing back up to Bon Jovi. And I think we did Dead or Alive the way it should have been done.
Terribly.
and that you could catch online. Also, online, I did read passages of 50 Shades of Grey, and most people find it extremely erotic because it should have been read in my voice.
Of course. Have you gone to see the movie?
No.
Well, instead of sitting in your hotel room, I would encourage you to go to a movie theater in Ottawa, and while the movie is on, you start reciting the lines that you know. I think that would provide people with a real thrill. So I wanted to know, who's your favorite comedian and why?
Oh, see, this is, it's gotten weird when you're in comedy for a certain amount of time. It's harder to laugh at comics. Like when I see comics now, and I think most comics do that, they nod their heads and go, "Oh yeah, he's clever."
But there's no one that jumps out at you?
Yeah, not really. I mean, there's a lot of comics I've liked over the years, but I remember when I was a kid, and they would have these TV shows and old movies, and I'd start to see all these comics. I remember they would show the Marx Brothers movies on TV, and I became a big fan of theirs, and of course, Jerry Lewis and Milton Berle and Henny Youngman.
So what drew you to comedy as a child?
I always think I was too stupid to do anything else. It was like I remember when I was a kid, I would watch TV and I'd start imitating people I saw on TV, like different actors in movies and people on TV shows, and then I used to joke around and do these imitations all the time, and then someone told my sister about some place in New York that was a club that you could just write your name down, and it was an open mic night. And so when I was 15, I did that.
And here we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Unfortunately, a lot of people are saying now.
No. So now you were a cast member on Saturday Night Live for a year, a long time ago, and in your book, Rubber Balls and Liquor, you have a great story about how your agent at the time was fired soon afterwards, and I was hoping you could share that story with us, why they were fired.
Oh, my agent?
Yeah.
Oh, wait a second. Oh, well, oh God! Refresh my memory because I don't read my own book.
Well, wasn't it? You were fired from the show, and then shortly thereafter, your agent got you an audition for the show.
Wait! Yes, and she wasn't fired immediately after that either. That's what makes it even better. Is the fact that she wasn't even fired for it.
Great.
Right after I was on Saturday Night Live, and it was the worst season to be on it. It was like if in the middle of Beatlemania, they got rid of the 4 Beatles and put 4 other schmucks there and said, this is the new cast. Because we were the first new cast. Everyone knew, Belushi and Aykroyd and Chevy Chase. But we were the first, and so people hated us. And it was constantly all over the news how dare they continue the show. And then when we got fired, that was a major thing. They were saying, oh, God, thank God they're fired. We'll never hear of them again, And then, about a month later, my agent calls me and says, great news. I got you an audition for Saturday Night Live. And I had to sit her down and explain to her I was on it for a year. It was in all the papers and on TV. And I've been fired from it.
Did that go over well?
Yeah. I think she still was confused by that.
Now, celebrity roasts have become a real popular thing, and you've roasted a lot of people over the years. I'm wondering who your favorite person to roast was.
Oh, God, so many of them. Well, let's see. I roasted Bob Saget, Joan Rivers, David Hasselhoff. Dale, I'm forgetting a bunch now. And they were all fun to roast. You see, I'm one of those people when I'm in a roast. I think of it as like I can say anything I want about them and their family. I could make jokes about them and their family dying in a fire or whatever, and it's fine. But if one of them makes a joke about the tie I'm wearing, then they've gone too far.
Has anybody ever been mad at you after doing a roast?
The funniest thing that I remember was during the Hasselhoff roast, the producer came backstage and said Pam Anderson is going to be there. And she originally wasn't going to do the roast, so go a little light on Pam Anderson. Don't do it, which is the worst thing you could say to me. So the whole roast, I was just talking about Pam Anderson's vagina, and over and over and over and over, and detail, and after the roast, when everyone's applauding and hugging each other, Pam Anderson hugs me and whispers in my ear, "I hate you."
So mission accomplished.
Yes.
There you go. What's worse than being asked to work clean?
Oh, God. Yeah, that's the worst, because it's like sometimes if you don't ask me to work clean, I can work clean. But if you ask me to do it, then there's that part of my head that's going, oh, God. It just goes completely blue.
So one of your most famous roles was as the voice of Iago the parrot in the movie Aladdin. And I recently read a pretty nice story about a young boy with regressive autism who had stopped talking. And after years, his family finally found something that had worked. They spoke to their son using a puppet of Iago and imitating your voice. And he started talking for the first time in 5 years. So how did you feel when you found out that your voice changed a family's life?
That was amazing. That was truly amazing because, yeah, he was autistic. His father could not speak to him, and but the kid used to watch a lot of movies, a lot of Disney movies, particularly Aladdin, and he started talking in my voice the father put on the parrot puppet and started talking to his son, and he said, how are you feeling? And he goes, I'm not happy. And from then they started to have conversations back and forth. And also on Night of Too Many Stars that was just on, they brought him out. His name is Owen. They brought him out, and me and Owen read scenes from Aladdin together. And that was a great moment for me. You could find that online if you look on Night of Too Many Stars and Gilbert and Autistic.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and I've kept in touch with that family, so it's been... They, of course, were extremely excited seeing their son on TV.
Oh, yeah. What an experience. Now, you've done a lot of voiceover work and quite a few jobs for animated stuff or stuff directed at children. And I'm curious, when you're in the recording booth and you're reading content meant for kids, how often do you just out of habit slip into something that's totally inappropriate for that age group and have to redo the take.
Constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, during all the cartoons I'm doing, at least 5 times during it, I'll start to ad-lib, and the director will have to say, this is a kid's cartoon.
You must have a great blooper reel then.
In fact, I remember I did an episode of Law and Order, and I was just hired for that episode, and I started to ad-lib from out of the script, ignoring the script and just ad-libbing and being funny and being outrageous and everything. And the director yelled, "Cut." And then he walked over to me, and under his breath to me, he goes, could you pull back a little? This episode is about a little boy who was murdered.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Yeah. So I guess that wasn't their funny episode.
No, there you go. So you're in town tonight through Sunday at Yuck Yucks, and I think there are just a few tickets left, so people can jump on those. So thanks very much for chatting with me today, and have a great stay in Ottawa.
Oh, thank you.
Cheers. All right. Have a great show.
Thanks.
All right. We're going to keep